Hello everyone, I'm Tanya,
And I'm Jason.
and we're from
The Board Game Nook.
Today we're going to talk about Nataterra by Amir Kamal and Tribe Games. It is 2 to 4 players, plays in about 60 to 150 minutes or less if you're playing 2-player and you're really bad at it.
It's an asymmetrical faction, dudes on the map, and territory control game. In Nataterra, each player takes control of one of 4 asymmetrical factions.
Humans,
Beasts,
Atari,
and the Naga. During the game, you're going to move across the board. You're going to conquer territories. You're going to gather resources, and you're going to have combat with other players. The game will end when one of 16 different victory conditions chosen at the start of the game is accomplished.
And this leads to very interesting times. You can just go very fast game of just run across the board and kill people, or you can try to build up your technologies and resources and get better recruits, and then take your time with the slaughter.
Each round will take place over 4 phases. You'll have the movement phase, where each of your units will move a certain number of territories according to their movement value. You'll have the gather phase, where each worker will gather 1 resource based off of the location they're on the board. Then there'll be a combat phase, which is the most involved phase of the game. It takes place, each player will have individual player boards that they put their units on and their initiative order. And then after the combat phase, you'll have the buy phase, where
You can
buy things and upgrade technologies. You can recruit units, do new technologies, and build structures.
That's right. What I like about this game is the fact that the asymmetrical players are just that. They do feel very, very different. With Atari, they are sneaky assassins, and you can just kind of sneak up under tunnels, under mountains, and you can do a hit, and then you can run away. With the beasts, they're for breeding. Just an onslaught of as many warriors that you can get out on the board, and they're there to just, be very powerful.
You of course had the humans, and the humans were more about building structures and more about map presence. They had a lot of abilities that let them move extra spots before or after combats. And then you had the Naga, which was my personal favorite, where they had this, it was called a flare mechanism, where you collected flare throughout the game, and during battles you could use it for special abilities and like wombo combos. So what was your favorite theme?
My favorite theme was the Atari, because I like sneaky assassins. I don't like the full, just run up and, I sometimes I do, but the Atari was fun to just sneak up and just be like, and then some of your people would die, but then you could back away and you could recharge and buy more cards, and I really appreciated that in this game.
In one of our games, when we were playing 2-player, in one of the learning games, I was doing quite well with the beasts. I was propagating very quickly, doing the aggressive breeding, and I was conquering the board quite quickly. And Tanya, playing the sneaky Atari, tried to sneak behind my backlines to take my capital without me noticing.
It didn't work, you guys. It didn't work. That game, it went real fast, okay? But the other thing that you can do with this game, once you get good at it, okay, so this is where it gets also kind of sneaky, is that this game, very simple to follow. Just move, pick up those resources. Those resources can buy cards, and then can get stronger units on the board, and then you can battle. It's nothing complicated at all. But when you have to play it more than once, more than twice, more than 3 times, because there's nuances with all these asymmetrical warriors, and they can really start to come out. The flavor of this game comes out when you start to understand the cards that you can purchase.
Exactly. And each of the factions, like all of the units, they have the same base statistics. Like you'll have movement, attack, defense, but there's little differences between them. For instance, the workers for the Atari are ranged units, so they can hide behind their melee units, and you get an easy, already on the board ranged character. The other thing that's sort of different is the technology cards. So each faction comes up with its own technology deck, which ranges always from 1 to 16. So you're always going to build the first technology first, or one of the first 3 technologies, which will let you get subsequent cards in the deck.
And you need to purchase those so that you can purchase the ones further down in the deck, because that gets your more powerful warriors out on the board. The other one is these guys. What the heck are they called?
Those are your tactics cards.
Tactics cards. And they help you. Very, very powerful. So if you have to pay, 4 meat and 3 wood to get a warrior out, some of these cards can be like, just feed them 2 meat and they're good to go. So they can really, really help you advance and get things out onto the board instead of having to gather resources. But they are different themes on this card. So this one is, you can do movement if you'd like, you can use it in the battle phase if you'd like, or you can use it in the purchase phase. So it gives you choices in this one card, 3 different options that can help you advance during the game.
And all the options on each card is different. So there might be a different combination. One of the cards might have 2 movement abilities, 2 gather abilities, etc. But you can only ever play a tactics card for one of the choices.
Mm-hmm.
And each of the tactics decks also sort of lend themselves to a slight theme. For instance, the tactics decks of the beasts allow you to purchase monsters.
Yeah, they're cheap. They got to get them out on the board.
And the humans, their tactics deck, they have a lot of movement abilities before combat and after combat.
So this is good in the sense that you do feel like you're the individual warrior and you're trying to battle against somebody that's completely different from you. But it does lead to, if somebody's better at planning and stacking, they can really, really get quite far ahead in this game. And there's not a lot of catch-up mechanisms with it, which is like real life.
It can snowball very quickly into a winner. And we didn't find, once you started losing, they're like the inflection point. You might just be hitting each other a little bit, but as soon as that inflection point hit and one person started winning, they generally took the game.
And the units are very cool. We did like the artistry of it all. We like the idea of them. They all fit beautifully, but you're not going to see these advanced units on the board for the first few playthroughs. We found anyways. It just was just too hard to get them out. The game was over in that 2-hour mark, and we didn't get him a drag it out because he was my most powerful one.
You do have to, if you're going to go for, it seemed to us anyways, if you're going to go for more of a unit-based strategy rather than a rush strategy or defensive strategy, that the game would be over faster, and you would have to focus on building up those units. Yeah. Otherwise, you just won't see them.
Yeah, exactly. This game is full of strategy from the very beginning to the end. It is not my strong point. I mean, I like to move and I like to kill stuff, but there's depth here that really, really, it's important, from the cards that you're purchasing to the warriors that you're going to put out. Yes, you want to strategize for the resources that you get, but really the most important phase is combat. It is probably the longest phase of the game that you're going to spend your time on.
No, for sure. So the other 3 phases are extremely quick, but the combat phase is completely separate and done on 2 different boards. And so there's a little bit of setup time and a lot of strategy, from which units you bring into the combat, how many of each, whether you're bringing melee units and ranged units.
Preferably both.
And preferably both.
There's initiation phases as well, and that's just the beginning. And then you have
the asymmetrical powers and that sort of thing. In each technology deck, for instance, units can be upgraded in one of 2 different ways most of the time. You have an A side and a B side, and sometimes they'll give you access to new technologies. Other times they'll give new abilities for the units or better statistics.
See, where I was going, I have this resource, so I will purchase this card, and it happens to be a B warrior, which gives me better healing. That's how I strategize. Jason went the other direction. Well, he planned.
This game, you have to be ready to pivot your strategy as the game progresses. For instance, if you see your opponent building units that have retaliate, which is unblockable damage every time you hit them, you want to make sure that you're going into that combat with ranged units, because ranged units don't get hit by retaliate. So you have to watch what your opponent's doing, and then change your strategy almost on the fly.
And you have to know that when to attack and when to retreat, because, you probably will lose a unit or 2, but it is tactically advantageous for you to then retreat. You will have to lose some resources, but maybe when you retreat, you use that as movement. So you get to go to a different place on the board and maybe protect the structure that you made, or reinforce the other units for a different attack for later on in the game.
Yes, retreating in this game is quite an interesting concept, because you Yeah, it's a strategy move. You're not just sure you lose the combat, but losing the combat, depending on the victory condition, isn't necessarily a bad thing. More units survive. You can reposition along the map. You can set up blockades, so your opponent has to move one unit at a time to really slow them down. And while they've been slowed down, you take that time to maybe upgrade your units or build better units.
Or you use your workers, which aren't generally they're not what are they, attack warriors. They're just there to
Well,
gather your
yeah.
food, but they can be used to kill other things. So you kind of use them as a little bit of fodder, and you can gather the resources while you put them into battle, and then those resources can be used to feed your other people.
Strategic sacrifice.
It's a strategic sacrifice. That's the word that I was looking for sure.
They could be used to, stand in front of your ranged units to take a hit so that your ranged units can do more damage for a round of combat. Or you can also use them in combat. Each group gets to either attack or they can do a support action. So you can use your workers to support your other units, give them extra armor or extra attack so that you can maybe break through the opponent's armor or do a really big hit so that they can't, so you can take out their entire unit before they get to move at all.
And also, I will have to mention this, that if you're like, yeah, battle strategy, that's my total jam, you are forewarned that when we were playing this as a 4-player game, you also have to roll die. And holy man, do those die, they're swingy, okay? So you can strategize all you want, but you can roll a -5 to your hit, and that can cause a lot of anger amongst the crew.
There's a 10-sided die that you roll when you do your attack, and it ranges from +3 to -5. So there's quite a bit of swinginess within that single die roll.
So you have to learn to mitigate and adapt.
Yes, and certain ways to mitigate the die, for instance, would be bring more groups to the combat. The more times you're rolling the die, the closer to the average you're going to get. Another way to possibly mitigate the die is bring more units within a single group. If you're attacking for, let's say, 8 damage, with a -5, you're still going to do 3 points of damage. And depending on what you're fighting against, that might be enough to swing the tide of combat.
Mm-hmm. We played this game 4 versus 4. We played it as teams, so 2 against 2, and we played it 1v1.
It can also be played 3v3, but we didn't get a chance to do that.
Mm-hmm. So in our 4-player game, here's the one setback that we have to say about this is like, oh my goodness. It took a real long time. Okay, you're just waiting for them to do their turn and then them to do their turn. And it just, it took a real long time. And there was boredom that happened in that game. Easily, you can rectify that situation with just planning your turn.
Well, so because the combat phase takes place on 2 separate boards, and there's setup time and strategy involved in each combat, if you're not involved in that combat, yes, it can become a little tedious for sure. And depending on how many combats take place during each person's turn, it can really slow down and bog down the game in a 4-player game.
Mm-hmm.
And
with our gaming crew, obviously, we are very experienced gamers, but this is not our wheelhouse. So we understood the concept of it, but it was quite delayed. And so you can plan ahead. It's not like, while they're battling it out, I can still say, okay, so what do I need? Do I need meat? Yes, okay, I need wood so I can get this. You can make it go faster. We just wanted to mention that if there's new players or if you're just learning you just be prepared. It can take a long time.
And to that end, it might be a better idea to play 1v1 or have both groups play 1v1. There's enough components to do it. And then sort of learn the game and then maybe take on a 4-player game, because there are pros to playing 4 players. For instance, if I attack Tanya really, really aggressively, and then I'm punishing her, someone can come in through my backside where I have no units and start to punish me. So there's a lot more
give and take of that. Where with 1v1, because of course I'm playing with this guy, it's kind of brutal, right? It's just him and I, and so it moved quite fast. It was like brutally fast, you guys. But while we were battling, there wasn't really anywhere to go with that. It was either I won or I lost, and you're moving and fighting. There's a big push and pull, real big. Where with 4 versus 4, he attacks me, but it does weaken him. And then our friend came in and attacked him. And so it was just nice to level out the playing field.
Another good point is, or another way that you can speed up a 4-player game is, again, when you're not participating in the combat, you can plan out your turn. Or during the buy phase doesn't always affect what's going to happen on the next player's turn. So if the person's buy phase isn't going to change the state of the board, you can start moving your units, doing your gather phase, and also prepping your combats while they do their buy phase. And if everybody does that actually speeds up the big game quite a bit, since the buy phase, that can be one of the slower parts of the game as well, while you're thinking about what you need and what you should build.
What I found was the most fun is not having to just face them all by my little lonesome. We had the most fun 2v2. So it kind of makes it all the wonderful things even better, because now you're not waiting for his person, that person, that person. It's 2 versus 2. So we are strategizing, okay, if I move here and you're going to help me out, you're going to reinforce that. Those two are paying attention because we are attacking them, and then they go and then we go. So it got rid of that delay.
Yes, there was only one delay turn because both players on a team, they do their movement phase, their buy phase, their gathering phase all simultaneously. And even the combat phase, depending on how the boards are laid out, you can go into combat with your partner against one other player or 2 other players. Yeah.
And it's always better to slaughter together.
And one of the fun aspects of slaughtering together is I now had access to abilities from my my teammates' team. So I might not have retaliate, for instance, or even better, the beasts have heal. So during a combat, I could be using my heal to keep alive their treants, like their extremely powerful defensive units, that sort of thing. So it opened up a whole new strategic world, and I think 2v2 was my preference for this game because of just more strategy and more fun and the speed of the game overall.
And I mean, we played it 3 different ways, and that, I mean, we barely got a tip of the iceberg because there's so many different win game scenarios that you can choose from.
So, who is Nataterra for? What kind of gamer?
Definitely a person who likes to strategize and weaponize and then go into battle and win, right? Dudes on a map. If you like dudes on a map and you like combat heavy games
and asymmetrical factions,
this is definitely the game for you.
And tech trees and tactics cards, then yes, this game is 100% great for you. It's probably not as complex as other games within that same genre, so it might even be a game that you could use as an intro to that type of game. Yeah. However, if none of those things appeal to you, obviously this game definitely isn't for you.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. I would say that this is not really my genre that I would go for, but I did enjoy it because of the theme of it, and it was very easy to understand, and you definitely did feel like your faction. You felt like, okay, I'm going to make them strong, I'm going to build the structures, and I'm going to use my own personal war tactics and see if I can go up against a completely different warband, and let's see who wins. So that, it nailed it for me anyways.
Something else to note is there is going to be luck in this game. It's not, you have to be prepared for luck. You have to be prepared to pivot your strategy. And you have to be prepared also for the luck of the draw for cards, because cards can definitely make or break a strategy.
Sometimes you just need to purchase that unit, not to have that unit on the board, nor even to have its special ability, but because the card allows you to buy one of these suckers.
Yes, access to tactics cards, it can make a world of difference.
They're very powerful.
And it appeared to often, once you got access to them, you could really just keep cycling them, but you just had to make sure you got them. And they were a lot of fun, but very, very important to the game.
Yeah. I thought it was a pleasure to play. I know, not so much a pleasure to set up. I thankfully didn't have to do that. It is what is it called?
Table hog. Yes, sure. It is a table hog.
Get a big table, you guys.
And this is only for 2 of the factions.
That's right.
So at a 4-player game, it's a lot bigger. But also, if you're familiar with this type of game, you'll you'll learn it quite easily, and you'll just understand it quite quickly. And new players, because of the ease of the rules and everything, will also probably understand it quite quickly as well. So if this sounds like something you'd enjoy, please check it out. It's coming to crowdfunding soon.
Thanks so much for watching. Bye for now. These are our special effects, guys. Ah! Looks great. They didn't even notice. What is the theme of this game, Jason?
What is the theme of this game?
The theme of this game is murder. No, it is murder. Hey guys, so we're going to do what other people do who are super cool and know what they're doing. And we're going to ask you.
Please take a moment, if you like our content, to like us and subscribe for further content.
You like us, right?
Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching.